The week 4 module materials talked about critical pedagogy, and I found the materials to be pretty informative and enlightening. I really appreciated the easy to understand synthesis of critical theory as explanatory, normative, and practical. I really appreciated the digestibility of that framing. But also on that note, I found myself agreeing a lot with the critiques that were presented as well. These were critiques that I found on my own, and I also believe that early on in a previous course, some of our readings had discussed these same critiques as well. Just generally that critical theory is great at identifying problems, but not so great at solving them. So yeah, in general, I found myself agreeing with some of the criticisms, mostly regarding the practicality of critical theory. I do think that it's an excellent tool for interrogating systems. And going into the reading with Davis and Harris about the sort of five factors involved in critical pedagogy, I thought, again, those were very easy to understand, very illuminating, and widely agreeable as well. I think they really highlight the need and the usefulness of critical pedagogy. And for my chosen lecture for that week, I found myself gravitating towards Margot Okazawa-Ray. I was really intrigued by her approach on transnationalism, so I was very interested to see her elaborate a little bit more on that. And I was particularly struck by her appeal for nation to be considered a critical lens alongside maybe race, gender, or other critical lenses that we might approach through critical theory. And I think, she's absolutely right. She brought up how during the Black Lives Matter protests, you had, the names George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, all of these names that people were chanting, and also highlighted Black people are killed by the hundreds every day in other parts of the world. We can't ignore the fact that these names are known because they are connected to America. And I was particularly struck by her quote, "The category that gives us some kind of dominance is the category we don't recognize." And in this case, she was particularly discussing American national identity. And yeah, as an American educator who's been living internationally for, a few years now, I can say that being an American definitely holds a certain amount of privilege that you can't ignore. So I certainly agree with her that it should be considered a critical lens. For the week 5 module materials, I really enjoyed the social justice critical reflection model. I thought it was very applicable, easy to understand. I particularly found myself being drawn to the concept of dialogic thinking. And in the video where they're giving some examples of questions for it, I thought it was really interesting how they're really framing this around your experiences, not what do you believe about gun violence, but what experiences have you had that have shaped your belief about guns in America. I was really impressed with dialogic thinking and dialogic questions as being a tool that we can employ for greater empathy, first and foremost, but also for a more valuable and productive discussion on a topic as well. I think it takes us out of this concept of I'm right and you're wrong because I have more data and logic to support my argument, and gets us more to a place of human understanding and recognizing the dignity of the person in front of us when we're discussing issues that can be deeply impactful. And continuing on with the social justice critical reflection model, the concepts of critical consciousness, critical reflection, all of these things I thought were very useful for us as educators, but also just for people in general to interrogate the context of our beliefs and the context of the conversation that's going on. And then after grounding ourselves in empathy and context, then being able to act going forward. Turning to the reading from Davis and Harrison, what stood out to me was the quote, "How ought we deal with ourselves and our students when they push our buttons?" And the reason that stood out to me is I recognize that I am oftentimes the student that pushes buttons. I have been a button pusher in high school, in my bachelor's program, in my master's program. I apologize in advance if I push your buttons as well. Please know that it's done with love and not with malice. I think it really comes from the fact that my dad, when I was growing up, was super into philosophy and would always hardcore interrogate me on any beliefs that I had. Even if he fully agreed with my beliefs, he would always interrogate them very deeply and force me to articulate counter arguments to all of these different points. Even if it was something as simple as I think that vanilla is the best ice cream flavor, I would be forced to defend my position and consider multiple different nuances to that topic. So I guess I've just sort of internalized that style of interrogating points. I will say though that some of the best relationships that I've had with my professors in the past have been the ones where they admitted later that I did push their buttons, but they pushed right back at me. And we were able to cultivate this relationship of intellectual respect, which I really treasure to this day.